Don't save her. She don't wanna be saved. Don't save her. I wanna be saved. Honestly, if them EMTs had that soundtrack in their playlist, they probably would have made it out alive. What is up, and welcome back to another episode of So There's That. I am your hostess, doing the mostest, Kevon, and we are here with from season 3, episode 4, and y'all, the writers. They literally get in the writers' room and they're like, what would the fans think? And then the lead writer for the episode is like, fuck them fans, because they don't care about us. They don't care about our mental well-being, our emotional well-being. They don't care if we suffer from like anxiety, if we have heart conditions, things of that nature. This is truly proceed at your own risk. All them signs before getting on a roller coaster, like, are you pregnant? Do you have heart conditions and stuff like that? Yeah. Y'all need to heed the same warnings when watching this show. It's absolutely insane. So I'm gonna just dive right on in. Episode 4, titled There and Back Again, okay? Lost and Turned Out. Why is that the name of this episode? Well, y'all already know. Tabitha got pushed out of a lighthouse and made it into Camden, Maine. But they saw the tree at the end of that last episode, baby, and you already know what that means. So things to think about as we go through this episode. Christy got stuck in a bear trap last episode. Let me raise this camera. Okay, so Christy got stuck in a bear trap. Boyd decided that he wants to catch a monster. He has no freaking clue on how to do it, but you know, spur of the moment, I guess. Great idea, fairy, right there. Randall is seeing cicadas, so we already know like a whole bunch of them are hallucinating for some things and nobody's talking to each other. I already went off on the entire town last episode, so I'm not gonna do that this time. Victor pulls up on Sara and was like, hey girl, we're building a fort because I got a story to tell. Fatima got a tarot reading that went terribly wrong. And Tabitha freaked out on Henry so bad because she was like, oh my God, like, is this fake? Am I still there? Just to find that tree again. So now, yeah, girl, you had a chance to be out and you blew it. So where are we now? So they get out of the ambulance. They get out of the ambulance and how do I say that word? Ambulance. They get out of the ambulance. I play too much. They get out of the ambulance and they're looking at the tree. And of course, like everybody asks, how did the big old tree get in the road? And Tabitha jumps out and she's like, no. Like, hey, like, we gotta go. Like, we can't be stuck out here. Like, it's almost dark. And the crows are circling the tree. So we already know with Jim's arrival, but they got out and, you know, a couple of crows landed on the tree and then more crows ended up coming. So with these crows, it's more of them and they're angrier and louder, like it's almost deafening. So of course everybody's freaking out and they're like, okay, let's just get back in the car and try to figure out, you know, what's what, let's turn around. She like, nah, this ain't safe. Like, I know somewhere that we can go. Trust me, follow me, listen to these directions, let's head out. Back in Middle America, one of my favorite things that's happening this entire season is that Jim is being taunted for the terrible dad and the terrible husband that he is. So Thomas called the house while Ethan was sitting at the table and he's just, you know, drawing, you know, being a little kid. He finally sent his ass down somewhere when the phone rings. And so Ethan gets up and he answers it. And he's like, Ethan, you know, it's your brother Thomas. You know, mom is in trouble. She's on her way. She's in the ambulance and you need to be brave and you need to help her. And so Ethan, honestly, a little light in my heart lit for Ethan. Lit for Ethan. I don't like the Matthews family. It's well documented. But out of everybody, when they hallucinate, they all just start looking around and keeping a secret. But when Jim came in and was like, who you on the phone with? And he caught Ethan on the phone being like, who is this? Like, who are you really? And then Ethan actually tells Jim in real time, somebody called saying that he was Thomas, but he's also saying that mom is coming in an ambulance and she's gonna need our help. Out of all the adults in the town, he is the one person, the first person who was able to deduce the town is playing with me, but the message might hold merit. Jim, I hate him. I cannot stand Jim. Jim takes things all in part or none at all. He's never able to deduce and dissect what's a game and things that he should be paying attention to. So I really love that Ethan, in the span of a 30-second phone call, was able to be like, this isn't real. Thomas is dead. But also, what if mom is actually on her way? Jim snatches up the phone and Thomas was like, hi Jim, hey papa. Yeah, you said you what? You want me to stop playing with your kids? Baby, these are not your children. Not anymore. Oh, not anymore. And then we go to the title card. Imagine getting taunted by your dead son. The monsters in the town is literally on his head and how he's a terrible father. Like, I love that. Whoever wrote that into the storyline across these episodes, thank you so much. I find so much joy in Jim's misery. Thank you. You're doing the Lord's work. So we're back at Colony House and everybody's looking around, you know, playing rock, paper, scissors, duck, duck, goose on who's going to pick up this dead bird with a broken neck. When the bus driver looks at Tilly and asks, honestly, one of the most important questions I think have been asked all season. What made you think a place like this was safe for tarot readings, girl? Like, she asked that question. I said, you know what? Last episode, I was so caught up in the throes of like finding an answer that I didn't even think like what would diving into a spiritual world even look like, or how would that be experienced in a place that seems to be otherworldly. So that was a very important question. Until he was looking like, I have no answers, ma'am. This was a very dumb idea. So they're getting everything cleaned up and stuff like that. When we move down to Marielle examining Fatima, just making sure like everything is good. You know, she's a little bit shaken up from the whole thing, but her color is getting back. Marielle notes how she looks better. She looks healthier. Obviously, she's keeping food down. And, you know, they actually have a moment where they share like their own worries and concerns about their subsequent partners, because Christy is out in the woods on the food run with Jim, with Jade, Kenny. The other people ended up, I'm assuming, they're bunkered down somewhere. We know in the last episode, like, they were trying to get back to like the talisman's hut, and we know that there was another place deeper where the crops in the water were, where they were all supposed to hunker down anyway. So, you know, she's just a little worried, and they share, you know, little girl time, little girl talk, and things of that nature. We're back at Sarah's house, and Victor is telling Sara that he thinks that the key to helping everyone is locked in his memories, and he wants to build a fort in the basement. He's also opening up to her about how he was there with his mom and his sister, and you know, she didn't know that he had a sister. She only knew about the mom, but as we all know from previous seasons, he was so traumatized that he completely erased his sister from his mind. So a lot of people are just now learning that he has a sibling. And Victor, my heart, my son, my child, he's like, yeah, they both died, but I didn't murder them like you did, Nathan. And I'm just like, okay. And Sara feels the same thing. So she's like, okay, is these enough sheets? Because like, I didn't let you in my house to be insulted. But Victor is just very plain. And this is one of the things that I was talking about with my homegirl Sin, where we talked about this a while ago, where it's like, did the town erase Victor's memories, or was the trauma so great that he erased them on his own. So we've been talking about what he's seen and what he's experienced, and I've already been saying, especially online, why is nobody trying to extract information from the one person who's been here the longest, who has seen everybody die and knows what this town is doing? And he tells Sara, because she's like, why now? Why do you need these memories now? And he's like, this place is changing. It's never snowed. The trees are moving. It's never done that. And I need to know why. And I have a feeling that at the rate that, he doesn't say this, but obviously internal dialogue, at the rate that the monsters are killing them, it has to be very similar to the entire town getting massacred 40 years prior. So Victor, he's on his researchicals, okay? While everybody else is doing whatever, Victor is always finding and documenting and literally trying to help them in every way possible. Back in the ambulance, Tabitha is arguing with the EMT people, and she's like, listen, it's dark as fuck out here. Just keep driving straight. Don't turn around. I know somewhere that we can go. I know some people that can help us. You know, like, just keep on going. And they're like, ma'am, like, calm down, like, chill. And, you know, they're asking the same questions that everybody else asked before them. Why are we still going in a circle? We should have ran up on people. Why is there no other cars on the road? And she's like, y'all, listen to me. And she's trying to keep the panic at bay. Henry is still unconscious in the back with a C-spine on a spinal board. Like, she is just trying, but this panic is bubbling over because now all of the daylight is gone. Back in Middle America, Boyd is on the bus and he's sitting there and he's watching, and Randall's over there just kind of like being Randall, throwing out information and speaking about things that nobody even cares to hear him speak. And Boyd is like, why the fuck you still on this bus? Like, I'm pretty sure that I said that we should have traded. And Randall actually like stops and he's like, you know, y'all think that death is the scariest thing here, but when me, Marielle, and Julie were trapped, I'm sorry y'all, getting the names mixed up, I saw that there are things worse than death. And so they're sitting there and they're looking out the window, and Boyd is just kind of listening and contemplating on what Randall says when Randall gets up and he's pacing like bad back and forth. And Boyd's like, okay, are you always this antsy? Like, bro, you making me nervous. Like, sit the fuck down. And Randall's like, no, something is off. There's a lady that always comes out at the door at this time, another lady who be kicking her feet and doing cartwheels at this time. There should be people out here and something is off. Like, this is not it. And Boyd has like a small moment of contemplating what that could mean when shit hits the fan. Tabitha is in the back because now she's freaking out. She's telling the EMT driver to stop at the barn, and he's like, I'm not gonna be stopping like in no random ass town. Like, girl, you crazy. And she's like, please stop. And he drives by it. So as they're driving, he sees somebody in the road and he comes to a stop. So Tabitha's like, bruh, what are you doing? We cannot be out here. And she's just like, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die, we're gonna die. Get the fuck out of here, like, get us out of here. And she's freaking out, and the EMTs jump out of the front seat and they yell back to Acosta that there's a girl like laying in the road. So she's screaming like, please get back into this ambulance now. We have to get inside one of these buildings. And Acosta, okay. I understand that she doesn't really, that Tabitha sounds belligerent and she sounds like she's having a psychotic break. I understand the need and the want to handcuff her for her own safety, but I just feel like I wouldn't have done that. I don't know. So she handcuffs her and she hops out, and the EMTs are over there trying to, you know, see if the girl, like, what's wrong with the girl, and they realize like she doesn't have a pulse. When Acosta is walking up to them and she was like, hey, the lady is really freaking out in the back, like, I think we should listen to her. But she barely get the sentence out when the monster wakes up and guts them like a pig, snatched that man's guts right on out of him. And she rises up like the dead that she is, and the monster face peels back and she lets out the monster cry. Acosta sees the whole thing. Tabitha in the back hearing the cry, and you can't see anything, like there's no real windows in the back, and now she's handcuffed with all these monsters out in the middle of the street, with the barn nowhere near her and Colony House nowhere near her either. So she trying to wake up Henry, like, bro, get up, we need to figure out a way to get up out of here. And Acosta is panicking, she's shooting, and she's realizing these things aren't dying. At that same time, Boyd, Randall, Jim, Julie, Ethan, they all saw the ambulance pull up, and they're hearing these gunshots. So everybody runs outside, but Boyd and Jim and them go back into Jim's house, and they're like, Ethan, Julie, keep him up in this house. We ain't got time for this. We need to go figure it out. And Ethan's like, what if mom is really out there? So again, Ethan, truth teller, okay? Not the keeper of secrets. Boyd's like, what the fuck is he talking about? And Jim does the whole fake heroism thing, because you wasn't even believing your son anyway. If there's a chance that my wife is even out there, I'm gonna go take it, and you can do what you want with it. And he just goes out. And I was telling my friend earlier, I was like, I don't like Jim because every decision that he makes is very selfish. He puts it under the guise of wanting to help others, but all it is selfish needs. You done damn near got killed and buried underneath the house. You done built this lighthouse. You had Randall all up in your ear making some terrible decisions for the whole of the group. You go after your wife blindly, leaving your kids unsafe, and they almost died while you were out. And then in this instance where an ambulance comes, I understand the drive of even being like, if there's even a chance that my wife is out there, I want to figure it out. But even still, who you think is driving the ambulance? Why aren't you thinking about others? Why aren't you thinking about the person shooting the gun? It's more than just this single motivating factor. Like, I just cannot stand him. Jim is the guy who thinks he's nice and he's not. And that is what I have a problem with him. Anyways, so he's running out looking for Tabitha, but Boyd runs out and he's calling out for more people. He's thinking of how many people are out here and let's try to save them. Of course, they open up the back of the ambulance and they're both like, what the fuck? Because obviously Tabitha is back there. So Randall is out there, Boyd is out there, Jim is out there, and they're trying to get her unstuck. They're like, where are the keys? She's like, listen, I don't even know. And the monsters are coming up close, but Randall's like, okay, there's a toolkit back on the bus. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna get it. And Boyd's like, cool, I'm gonna look for the car keys. So he goes over to the dead EMTs. He's looking for the keys. He doesn't find it. He's coming back. He's looking everywhere for it. Now, something that I noticed in this moment, okay, the monsters could have gone to the back of the ambulance, and they did not. So we are seeing more and more of the choices that they make, and it's almost like this episode is an extension of Mousetrap. It literally could have been titled like Caught or something like that, because they are exposing more of their power and exposing more of what they can do to exterminate everybody in there. And they're doing it slowly. And they're bringing in new people just to murder them all in front of Boyd. So there's a very specific motivation to tear Boyd down, like they said, since season 4. What season we on? Season 3. I'm speaking into existence. Season 4. Let's go ahead and get that announcement. But since season 3, episode 1, Randall makes it back, but he's surrounded by them and he's holding up a talisman, and they're like, oh, pobrecito. That's not how the talismans work. I'm sorry. You're gonna have to do better than that, but that was cute. And the monsters are between him with the toolkit and Boyd and them with Tabitha locked in the back of the ambulance. So he throws the toolkit to Boyd, and Boyd gives it to Jim, and they're like jimmying and breaking the little handle to get Tabitha off. So they're freaking out and they're panicking, but me as a viewer, I'm like, y'all are panicking, but they aren't even thinking about killing y'all. They would have already done it. So Boyd is like, where's the fucking keys? Where's the fucking keys? And nurse lady goes, hey, looking for these? Right in Boyd's face. And so she's like, listen, let's make a trade. I raise you one set of ambulance keys, but we're gonna stay and keep Randall. I think that'll be so much fun. And Boyd is looking at Randall and looking at the keys and cussing up a storm. Harold, I love you. And she's like, Boyd, you can't save them all. And he's like, fuck you, fuck. And he takes the keys because there's 4 of them and it's 1 of Randall. And honestly, I tweeted Harold, I was like, I'm pretty sure that the motivations behind him cussing had nothing to do with saving Randall, because Randall is a dick. Randall is an asshole and was just being an asshole to him. It has been nothing but a pain in everybody's ass since he got there. I was like, I'm pretty sure he was just cussing out the monster because she got close and chose not to kill the 4 of them in that ambulance. She could have killed all of them. It was like 6 monsters outside. So I'm sure he's crashing out in his mind at the realization that they are in control and they are writing the story and they are maneuvering everybody, their fears, their actions, their beliefs, in the way that they want. And it's a very fast realization that you think you was coming out here to watch us? Baby, we're watching you. So Acosta done dipped and left everybody, y'all. She said, fuck y'all. She left all of them people back at the ambulance. And she's already seen that they weren't dying by being shot, but she's running up, panicking towards Colony House, blindly shooting at these people. And one of the shots, as she's facing the building, like, come on, lady, I need your cop senses to like kick in. But baby, no. What my friend say? She said, yeah, she got her cop mind and then she got her human mind. And baby, that human mind took over. She is in disbelief. And because they can't be killed and they're not really like fleshy, the bullet goes clean through one of the monsters and hits Nikki in her stomach. So all hell is breaking loose inside the house. Outside the house, she banging on the door. Everybody's like, fuck it, just let her in like it's a cop. She comes inside and she sees Nikki is on the couch and Marielle is trying to get the bullet out, and she's like panicking and just hyperventilating and just having a full-blown meltdown when Donna walks up and pushes her at first, but she's like trying to help this lady get her bearings, and she's like, what happened out there? How did you get here? What is going on? Like all these other things. And so in the background of them trying to save Nikki, you hear her kind of like looking and staring and focusing on Donna's words so she could try to like get her speech out, while also coming to the realization that she has potentially caused the death of somebody in this household. Boyd gets the ambulance, he heads back to Colony House, and everybody walks in, and it's like a merge of like shit hitting the fan all in one. Everybody in the house is looking at Tabitha like, how in the hell is she back here? And Boyd is looking like, how is somebody shot on the couch? And Donna, being Donna, is just like, you know, looks like we're all having a night, you know, and things of that nature. So they're in the house, and for the moment, there is a little bit of calm. Jim takes Tabitha up to the room. It's just like a whole bunch of stuff. She needs to get separated. There's a lot of stimulation right now. And they don't really have the time per se to really digest everything that is happening in this moment. And neither do we as the audience. So So while this is happening, Nikki ends up taking a turn for the worse and she dies. Fatima feels bad because, you know, they had a little spat or whatever, but then they, you know, they kind of made up between episode 3, and it was kind of like, it was friendly. And Fatima feels bad, and she tells Ellis that she wants to be left alone with the body, just to, you know, sit with her and give her a moment of, I don't know, just kind of like mourn her a little bit. And one thing about Fatima that you can kind of feel throughout the entire 3 seasons is that Fatima brings a certain light to Colony House. She's very different in personality, in background, in religion, in energy than everybody else. So while a lot of people can get wound up and get uptight, she just helps them be free. And you could really see all of that in the episode where they celebrated her 1-year anniversary, and just the way that everyone lights up around her. So it's like, okay, this makes sense for Fatima to sit in here with her, to just extend one final kindness with Nikki and just have a moment of silence with this girl. Ciao. Fatima ass was hungry. Okay, she started digging in that bullet hole and licking them fingers and start eating, lady. Ma'am, you don't think they're gonna see this when they clean her up and bury her? Like, come on. But that baby is hungry. And this further goes down the line of like, what is in her? This is more than weird, eating eggshells or even eating rotted vegetables. That could have been spoken for. It was explained away in last episode when her and Tilly were just talking about strange cravings and stuff that women have, and they do. But maybe the baby is iron deficient. Stop eating that, Lady Fatima, please. Meanwhile, while all of that was happening, Victor is talking to Sara, and we find that the suitcase that he dug up holds one item from everybody who died in the massacre 40 years ago. And he talks about how the boy in white helped him come up with the idea, and Sarah's like, wait a minute, you know him? And again, there's these small moments of clarity where little bits and pieces of information are finally coming out of people in this episode, which thank God. But she doesn't hop on it too much because she needs him to go where he needs to go. So he was young. He was like 11 or 12 or something like that. And he couldn't bury everybody. So he collected a single item from everybody that died. And as he's going through it and he's talking about the memories and the fun times and just the kindness that the people had, he realizes that one of the people named Christopher, there's an item missing. So he has an item for everybody except that person. And he's thinking like this is an important thing. And as he goes to try to remember who Christopher was in the item that he would have chosen for Christopher in this suitcase, he starts freaking out. Memories are coming back to him in a rush, and they're very traumatic and they're very dark. So he's like, I'm done. He's getting ready to tear down the fort, and he's just having an episode. But Sarah's able to get him to calm down, and she's like, listen, you said I'm the scariest person here. So if I'm the scariest and you're sitting here with me, then you can face your fears. Nothing will be scarier than me right now. So don't allow your memories to scare you. And I'm going to be here to help figure this out together. And so he goes back into his memory, and we find that the item that he would have taken is a ventriloquist dummy. And he talks about how Christopher took on the role of just putting on shows and just making everybody feel good. But then randomly he started getting dark and started having conversations with the ventriloquist without him actually holding the ventriloquist. And that's when things started to change in Christopher. And when things started to change in Christopher, things also started changing in the town leading up to everybody getting murdered. So Victor's like, okay, I know what to do. I know what to get, and we need to go find this item. And Sarah's like, cool, I'm gonna be with you all the way. Back in Colony House, so many things happen, and this part is just kind of out of sequence, but I wanted to just tell the things as they progress for their scenes. After Nikki died, Boyd Stark, he just crashes out on Acosta bad. I mean, it was very much reminiscent of when he slapped the shit out of Frank in season 1, episode 1. But this time, Donna sensed and felt that it wasn't even about her or about the grief or the decision that she made to shoot blindly towards the house. He was like taking the whole event of things out on her. So Donna snatched him up by the back of his collar. She's like, get your ass up in this kitchen, little boy. And Harold's like, having a tantrum. I love that. What a great decision as an actor to do that before going into this scene. So he walks into the kitchen. He's fully ready to get chastised. He's already getting his argument out of the way. Like, you didn't see what was going on out there, blah, blah, blah. And Donna just starts crying. And I mean, crashing and burning. And she says, why won't they just leave us alone? And Boyd is the one to shut the fuck up. He's always telling people, Donna, to shut the fuck up. And Boyd is the one to shut up. And finally, we are at a juncture where the two leaders are in a space where they are choosing not to hold it in for the other. They have been shouldering these deaths, shouldering these crises, shouldering the hope of everybody in there. But every time they were with each other, they were taking it out on each other and arguing with each other. And everything that they held onto finally becomes undone in this kitchen. So they settle and they're like, you know what? There's so much happened tonight. And he's telling her how the monsters was taunting him and how he just left Randall out there. Like, what was he supposed to do? And he's opening up about the ways in which the monsters are forcing him to make certain decisions. I find in this moment that he is more like Sara than he's ever been. When everybody criticized and crucified and outcasted Sara for making the decisions that she made for her brother, then like, don't nobody even go visit her house, right? They haven't had a moment to stop and see that they've now become the thing that they labeled her as. Because it's impossible. 1 for 4, what would you do? And, you know, Donna's like, listen, we have to try to get some rest tonight. Let's pour up, homie. And so they get in a little potato-based vodka or whatever, and they're pouring it up. And we're kind of just calming down from the things. And right when your heart kind of settles from like the impact of everything that just hit you in one episode, Randall is seen splayed and displayed on the hood of the ambulance, alive, with the right side of his face and his neck chewed the fuck off. So there's that from season 3, episode 4. My God, 45 minutes of stress, and yet it still felt too short and too fast. I don't know what type of juju and magic and spells that they do in the writer's room before they put pen to paper, but I feel trapped in every episode this season. Seasons 1 and 2, I'm like, oh, I'm watching. Season 3, I am trapped. And every time the episode ends, I feel like I'm waking up from a fever dream. Like, this is insane. So just like I did the last recap for this show, I have some thoughts, I have some predictions, some things that I noticed that I want to go over with y'all. And then y'all can, you know, comment on either Twitter or in the comment section of YouTube. You can comment on Spotify and Apple Podcasts or on my Instagram page. But yeah, I have many thoughts. So things that I've noticed and things that I'm thinking about are the number of birds that were circling the ambulance this time and the speed in which they were circling and taking the bird from the last episode. The town, and I think I mentioned this from episode 3, they are trapping the cars and the vehicles specifically now at nighttime. It's almost like they're hungry but also with a show of power, with everything that we saw in this whole season up until this point. It's a very deliberate show of them letting Boyd know that they can orchestrate anything that they want and watch him, or make him watch them control the narrative. I have many thoughts on how they're getting back into this town. I think I said last episode, like, it's definitely like vehicles. Nobody's like walking in, but it's something about this space, this time in which they're traveling through, and I believe this gap is in Camden. So everybody the bus ride, they picked up people from all over, they're driving through, going to different states and stuff like that. So now I'm just like, okay, it's a thing in Maine, it's sacred ground. And if you think about lore like Salem's Lot and stuff like that, it was in Maine. So just a lot of like Stephen King stuff was like in Maine. So you think about like witches and roots and ancestral grounds and sacred grounds in this space in the lore. I think with the writing, they're doing a really good job at solely like piecing in the location of where Victor was and the space that Tabitha was able to escape and go into Maine and then come back. Because now I believe, like, wholeheartedly, some type of ritual happened, and now the grounds in this space is cursed. And I believe everybody is in Maine, in some alternate dimension or whatever. Every time a group is in the woods, the most terrible shit happens. So I'm with Sin on this. When they first found the food, and she did her review on TikTok, Sin City TV, go check it out. And she was like very suspicious of the timing of this food being found and who specifically was away when the food was found, when Mama Chin was murdered by the monsters. So then here we have another group that's away. Kenny is away, Christy is away, Jade is away. A few other people, our homegirl with the silk press that everybody was talking about on Twitter last week. All of these people are away. And this is a big group that's away as well. Bunkering down like in the talisman huts and in that little burial area with the life-size talismans. And so what that does is it reduces the numbers, and the people that you're going to send out on these things are probably some of your smarter ones, probably some of your more stronger ones. So even though we don't know the names of all the characters that's out there, they probably have a lot of value, and it leaves the people that's left behind more vulnerable. So the people that are behind are actually the people who are more prone to panic in mass situations. But shout out to Donna and them trusting Donna and trusting in her and her decisions, because they could have absolutely panicked way harder than they did, but they did not. So this kind of shows the strength of the hope that they've been able to develop and lean on each other. And I don't think that the monsters, I said in last episode that the monsters are breaking the town, but when they are together, that is when they have strength. So I really, really, really need people to like be together. I don't understand why people are still living in their own separate houses, why Boyd is still at the post office, why Randall is still on the bus. Why isn't everybody in Colony House? If you are this afraid, please live together, share ideas, share the things that are happening so you can put all of this shit together. That is still my biggest gripe, but it really transformed in me because, like I just said, they could have panicked bad, especially since the massacre that happened inside of the Colony House last season. But they were able to remain calm and trust Donna's leadership and trust all these different things within the chaos. And this is the thing that we need for everybody in Middle America. Like, please, I beg. So that's gonna wrap up today's episode, man. What a roller coaster ride. I feel it and I remember it and then I remember nothing. Literally my mind is like Victor. But this was one of the funnier episodes though. I love that the monsters are coming out and play and they're talking more and they're taunting more. This really gets into the psychosis of it all, because I love psychological horror and psychological thriller. So to see the monsters like psychologically breaking down everybody in this town, even though they can just destroy them, makes me so happy. It brings me so much joy. What great writing. And I love that we're having this season through October, so it's like super perfect for just Spooktober, Halloween, all of the things. With that though, I'm gonna head out. Again, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow me on Instagram. You can also follow my podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And then you can also get into my mind, my crazed mind, so deep and dark, on Twitter at Kivanchi. And I will catch y'all in the next episode.